The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you're listening to the 50s, when bums and jints walk the streets of New York. My name is Peter Trunk, and my partner is Ron Rabinovitz. Okay, Ron, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Peter?
I'm doing well, thank you. How's everything in Minnesota?
It's wonderful. The weather has changed. It's beautiful. It was 66 today. It was 72 yesterday.
I love it.
Love it. Love it, yeah. Your weather's been good, too?
That's baseball weather, yeah.
That's
Ours
good.
hasn't been too bad. Ours hasn't been
Good.
too bad. In the 60s, in the low 60s,
perfect.
you know, it's good.
We'll
It's
take it.
predicted to go into the
what we
80s
have.
by the end of the week. You never know.
Wonderful. That's great.
You never know.
All right.
But now that baseball season has started, we're all happy. And
Yes, we are.
being baseball fans that we are, big baseball fans, we love that the baseball season has started, and we're watching it, we're following it and everything. And tonight, I thought maybe since this is when the bums and jints walk the streets of New York, I thought I would talk about a guy who not only pitched for the New York Giants, but he also pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And his name is Sal Maglie. He was born in 1917 and he died in 1992. He made it 75 years. Not that long, especially from a guy who's 71 years old talking about it. It's not that long. But he pitched in the major leagues. Ronnie, he pitched in the major leagues from 1945 to 1958.
Wow. 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on the Giants. He was on the Indians. He was on the Dodgers. Then he was on the Yankees, and he was on the Cardinals. He played for all New York. You know what? You know what's weird? He played for all three New York teams while they still played in New York.
In New York, right.
Yeah.
He never moved out to
New
L.A.,
York
did
when
he?
he played for them. I'm sorry?
He never moved out to L.A., did he?
Oh, no.
No. Yeah. Okay.
One of the few that played for the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Yankees. At a time when all those three teams were in New York City.
In New York, that's right.
Yeah. He had 119 wins. He had 119 wins, and he had a 3.15 ERA lifetime, which is nothing to sneeze at.
No. And you know, he was known as the Barber.
Yes, he was. And we all know why. I think we know why.
Yeah, we sure do. He'd keep a close shave.
Yeah. He gave all those batters a close shave, didn't he?
He sure did.
Yeah.
They called him the Barber.
He did.
Sal the Barber.
Maglie broke into the big leagues with the Giants in 1945 when the war was over.
He was with them for most of the years, was he?
Well, he jumped, believe this or not, Maglie jumped to the Mexican League prior to the 1946 season.
Really? And then he came back?
Yeah, well, here's what happened. He jumped to the Mexican League in 1946 because of the money.
Yeah.
Okay? He was officially banned from organized baseball by Commissioner Harry Chandler when he jumped.
Yeah.
Well, when he jumped to the Mexican League.
Oh, sure.
He was unable to return to the Giants until 1950.
Huh.
Okay?
So he was in the Mexican League for years?
He was.
2 or 3 years?
He was. Now, here's where it gets weird.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets weird. He went to the Mexican League because of the money. Okay?
Right.
But the ban was actually lifted in 1949. Huh. But Maglie chose to remain with and get this, the Drummondville Cubs. Now you're going to say, wait a minute, the Drummondville Cubs? That doesn't sound like the Mexican League.
No,
that's because it wasn't. That's because it wasn't. He went to Quebec, Canada.
Oh, my God.
He went to the Quebec Provincial League,
Wow.
He was playing at the time, and he was making more money than he did with the Giants. So he stayed there. It's unbelievable. Here's a guy who broke in with the Giants, major leagues.
Right. Yep.
He jumps to the Mexican League for more money. He gets banned from organized baseball officially by the commissioner of baseball. And instead of begging or crying or getting on his knees and trying to come back, he not only stays there, he then, instead of coming back to the Giants when he was allowed to, he went up to Canada and played in Quebec because of the money.
Unbelievable.
That just goes to show you, Ronnie, that just goes to show you, and you know this as well as I do.
Yeah.
The money back then was shit.
It was
shit.
Terrible. It was terrible.
Terrible money. Terrible.
These guys were like slaves. Absolutely. They all were slaves.
These guys were looking out for themselves, and they should have been.
Sure.
And they actually did what was best for them.
Yeah.
He played with the Drummondville Cubs. It's hard to even say that. The Drummondville Cubs.
Yes. Drummondville
Quebec,
Cubs.
right, in Quebec.
It's hard to say.
It is. And he played with them and making more money than he did with the Giants. Now think about that. Here's a major league team going to pay a guy, and the Drummondville Cubs in Quebec were willing to pay him more. Now just think about that.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable.
Was that a minor league affiliate for the Chicago Cubs?
No.
No.
They were not. They were not.
Okay.
But after his return to the majors, Maglie was
1950? Was it 1950?
In 50. He was integral, as we all know, in the success of the New York Giants. Oh God, was he ever. The Giants of the early 1950s, he was their stalwart.
Yeah.
After a short stint with, after that, he was great with the Giants. And we know all the things that he did with the Giants. He did very, very well. And after the Giants were finished with him, they put him out. They put him out on the wire, and he was purchased by the Cleveland Indians. Believe it or not.
Oh, he went to
in
Cleveland
1956.
Before?
1956.
Okay.
And you want to know a great story? The great story is not that Maglie was purchased by the Dodgers in May of 1956, but in early May of 1956, my father brought me to a game, an exhibition game, between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Cleveland Indians in Jersey City at Roosevelt Stadium. Yeah, he got cheap tickets, cheap box tickets for like $2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he brought me there, and we saw the Indians play the Dodgers. This is, remember, this is May of 1956.
56, yeah.
Right. Well, the final score of the game was 1-0. But that's not the story. The story is that Maglie pitched the middle of the game, and when the game was over, the Dodger hitters told Walter Alston and Buzzy Bavasi, this guy still has it. This guy, Maglie, still has it. He has the magic that he had when he was a New York Giant.
That's right.
So what Bavasi did, listen to this. This is great. This is absolutely great. Bavasi calls Hank Greenberg, who at the time is the general manager of the Cleveland Indians.
Right. All right.
And he says to Greenberg, he says, I like this guy, Sal Maglie. And Greenberg says to him, do you really? He says, how much do you like him? He says, well, I don't love him. I just like him. I said, tell you what, I'll give you $100 for him.
No.
Now, you didn't hear me wrong. You didn't hear me wrong, Ronnie.
$100?
$100, he said. I'll give you $100 for him. Greenberg says, let me get back to you. The next day, Greenberg calls Bavasi and says, okay, $100 is okay. We'll send Maglie to the Brooklyn Ball Club. $100. He sells them to the Dodgers for $100.
Yeah.
Maglie comes to the Dodgers in 1956, late May in 1956. He goes 13-5. He pitches a freaking no-hit ball game against the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's right.
How do you like that?
Unbelievable. Did he have more than one no-hitter in his career?
No.
I don't know.
That was it.
I don't think so. I remember that.
That was it. I watched it on TV. 1956. He beat the Phillies.
That's right.
Beat the Phillies. Now, after his return to the majors, Maglie was an integral success, of course, to the Giants and stuff. But when he comes over to the Dodgers, it cost the Dodgers $100, not $1 million.
$100.
Not $100,000.
Yeah.
Not $1,000. $100. He comes over. He has a sterling comeback season
13-5
for Brooklyn. 13-5, and they won the pennant by one game.
Yeah.
The Dodgers won the pennant by one game over the Milwaukee Braves that year.
Right.
He went 13-5. Guess what his earned run average was? His earned run average was 2.89.
Oh, unbelievable.
Isn't that?
Unbelievable. That's
on
great.
September the 25th. Yeah. On September the 25th of that season, he no-hits the Philadelphia Phillies 5-0 at Ebbets Field.
Unbelievable.
He finished second. He finished second after the season was over. He finished second to Don Newcomb in the first balloting for the Cy Young Award. He also finished second to Newcomb in the MVP balloting.
I'll be third for $100.
Yep. He was the Dodger pitcher, and I know you know this already, opposing Don Larson of the Yankees in the latter's famous perfect game in 1956 World Series.
Right, exactly.
Sal Maglie gave up 2 runs on 5 hits.
Yeah. That's right.
Now, if you start a game in the World Series and your starting pitcher can tell you, I'm going to give up 2 runs and 5 hits the whole game, you're feeling pretty good, right?
Right.
You're feeling pretty damn good.
Absolutely.
Anyway, there's a bunch of guys that came after Maglie that say that he was their inspiration. The Hall of Fame pitcher Don Drysdale, who we all remember, had credited Maglie.
He was another Barber.
He credited Maglie with teaching him to pitch the breastback pitch, and pitch inside.
Drysdale had that sidearm.
Right. He had that 3/4 thing.
It was a wicked pitch.
But Maglie taught him to pitch inside and throw at people and move them off the plate. And so did, after his playing days were over, Maglie became a pitching coach.
With who?
He became a pitching coach with a bunch of teams.
Yeah.
The most I guess famous was the Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
And he taught Jim Lonborg of the Boston Red Sox, 1957, said that if it wasn't for Sal Maglie, I wouldn't have won all those games, because Sal Maglie taught me to knock people off the plate and to move their feet. And Earl Wilson said the same thing. Earl Wilson pitched a no-hitter that year for the Red Sox, and he told the same thing. He said, Maglie taught me to move people's feet and to make them uncomfortable at the plate. And Dick Raditz, who threw 95 miles an hour, their relief pitcher, their closer, credits Maglie with the same thing. He said not only did he teach me to move people off the plate, but he taught me that below the waist, this is this is Dick Raditz talking. In 1967, he said, Maglie taught me that below the waist for a pitcher was important. My legs were important. He taught me how to push off.
Imagine.
Taught me how to push off the rubber. He added 5 miles to my fastball, 5 miles an hour to my fastball. So a lot of people thought that Maglie was unbelievable, and he's just, you know, he was ineligible for to go into the service in 1942 during the war. He failed his physical. He had a chronic sinus condition. Yeah.
Was he ever a relief pitcher?
No.
Of later years? No, always started. Huh?
Always started. Pitched for the Yankees too, as we all know. And he was when he came up with the Giants, he was 28 years old already, just like Campanella. Yeah, Campanella and Robinson. He came up late.
Jackie was 28. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. When he came up in 1945 with the Giants, he only had a 5-4 record, but he had 3 complete shutout games.
Yeah.
And when he
died,
had
complete games. That's when you had complete games.
When Sal Maglie died at a young age of 75 in 1992, Bill Madden of the New York Daily News wrote an obituary, and one of the sentences of the obituary was Maglie never would have been elected to the Hall of Fame.
No.
But if you had a Hall of Fame for pitchers whom you wanted to have pitching for you in a game you had to win, he was the guy.
Right.
So he was
a
like
clutch pitcher.
Oh boy.
He was good.
He was something, boy. He was absolutely something.
The batters didn't like him because he could rush good. That's why they called him a Barber. Yeah.
He didn't make them feel comfortable.
He was a Dodger in nemesis, and then all of a sudden he becomes a Dodger.
Isn't that funny?
I remember.
No, I can't help but think about other great pitchers from that genre.
Yeah.
People like
Robin
Roberts.
From the Dodgers. Robin
But I'm thinking about people like Robin Roberts of the Philadelphia Phillies.
How about Warren Spahn?
If Robin Roberts knocked people down like Sal Maglie, how much greater would he have been? Because Sal Maglie didn't think twice about knocking you down.
No,
he'd throw it right at your Adam's apple.
Right, exactly.
But Robin Roberts, he was a control pitcher, and even though he's a great pitcher and a Hall of Famer, he led the league almost every year in home runs given up.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I can't understand why, if he had taken on Sal Maglie's philosophy,
right,
and knocked people off,
he could have been a better pitcher. Right.
Imagine how great he would have been. He's a Hall of Famer, but imagine how much greater he might have been.
That's right.
Might have been.
Yeah.
With that,
exactly.
I just wanted to bring up Sal Maglie. The show is called The 50s, when bums and Jints walk the streets of New York, and I just thought I'd bring up a guy who not only pitched for the Giants, but he pitched for the bums too.
Right.
He did well in both
places.
Of them.
That's right. With both of them. Absolutely.
Did
absolutely.
Well. Yep. Yes, he did.
He was something.
And that's about it, what I have about Sal Maglie.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the 1955 Dodgers. And I'll tell you that was the year they won the World Series. For the first time, they finally beat those damn Yankees. Finally did. Yeah, it was great. And they were terrific that year. Now, there were 4 players on that team that became Hall of Fame players. 4 of them. Do you know who they are? I'll bet you do.
I think I do. I think I do.
Yeah.
Snyder,
Right.
Campanella,
right,
Koufax,
yep,
and Jackie Robinson.
Right, exactly. That's right. And Lasorda.
That's 5.
But he was made as a manager. He came in as a manager. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a shame that Gil Hodges isn't there. Gil Hodges is terrific.
Before we die, Gil Hodges will be elected to the Hall of Fame.
I hope so. I want to see it.
I really hope so, too.
He deserves it so badly.
He surely does.
Yeah, he sure does. He was a great guy and terrific ball player. My God, he was tremendous. Oh, in 1955, let's see here. His batting average was .289, but he had so many home runs. He had 27 home runs. He had 102 RBIs, and he was just short of Campanella's. Campanella had 32 home runs, and Duke Snyder had 42.
Yeah.
So those were the top 3, and he was one of the top 3 all the way along. And he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope so, too, Peter. I hope he is. It was a fun year for them. They had some crazy people on that team. I could name like Roy Campanella, Gil Hodges, Junior Gilliam, Pee Wee Reese, Jackie, Sandy Ambrose. Remember he made that great catch at the World Series in 55?
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous. Left fielder, Duke Snyder, Carl Furillo. You had Don Hoke, Don Zimmer. He was a second, third baseman, infielder. He was good. Rube Walker was the backup catcher to Campy. Frank Kellert, George Shuba, one of the best pinch hitters of all time.
Shotgun Shuba. And Frank Kellert, by the way, Frank Kellert during that World Series in the first game was the batter when Jackie Robinson stole home.
Right, exactly. That's right. And he batted .325 that year, Frank Kellett, which I didn't realize he was that, that had such a, And then Dixie Hall was in 18. Walt Warren. Remember Walt Warren?
Yes, I do.
Him.
They got him from the Cubs.
Yeah.
The Dodgers got him from the Chicago Cubs, Walt Warren.
There's 2 guys here I don't know. Bob Burkowski. You ever heard of him?
Yes, I did.
Or Bert Hamrick.
Yes, I heard of him too. A cup of coffee, both of them. Cup of coffee. I'll tell you what. When I used to lie in my bed at night, my mother would tell me to go to bed, and I would lie in my bed, and my older brother would be getting ready to go out on a date. I was only like, let's see, 9. I was like 9, right. I was 9. My brother, he was a teenager. He was like 16, 17. He had his license.
Whoa.
So he's getting ready to go out on a date, and he would have the radio on in our bedroom. And we shared a bedroom. He and I, Paul and I shared a bedroom. And he would have the radio on, and it would be a spring training game from Vero Beach. It would be the Dodgers against whomever. It doesn't matter who it was. Milwaukee Braves, let's say.
Yeah.
And Vince Scully would be on the radio, and he'd say, "Oh, here are the lineups for tonight's game." And he would give the lineups. Now, this was like March of 1955. And Vince Scully would give the lineups for the Braves, who I didn't know anybody except Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron and a bunch of other guys. But, then he'd give the Brooklyn lineup, and he would say names like Bert Hamrick or Jim Gentile or Dick Gray or whatever. And I would get angry. And my brother would say, "What are you so pissed off about? What are you mad about?" I said, "Well, Gil Hodges ain't playing. Roy Campanella ain't playing. Duke Snyder ain't playing." They'd be mentioning guys that, in spring training they were getting their tryouts. And they would be all the young guys that you never heard of.
Yeah.
You never heard of them.
Right.
Don Demeter, Jim Gentile, Dick Gray, Bert Hamrick.
Right.
People like that.
I've never heard of Bert Hamrick.
Well, you know what? The thing is this. Here's the point. The point point is, when you were young, you didn't know too much. And I'm using the collective too. Not just you, but me too. And all of us. We didn't know too much. So we thought the Dodgers would be starting Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reeves, Gil Hodges, Duke Snyder, Carl Furillo. But alas, they were not. They were starting all of these kids.
All these kids.
And they were supposed to start all of these kids. You know, Chico Fernandez and all that stuff. Yeah. They would start all of these kids because it was spring training. And I would be so angry that I would tell my brother, turn off the radio. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear these guys. I didn't want to hear about Bert Hamrick and stuff.
Yeah.
And that shows the ignorance of youth.
Right.
And youth is wasted on the young, and there it is.
That's right.
In all its glory.
He was a great player. I mean, he played in 2 games in 1955. He had a 0.000 batting average. Yeah.
Well, you know something? Those guys who made it.
He had one at bat in 1955.
Well, you want to know something? Walter Olson had one at bat too with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he struck out. So it doesn't mean too much.
It doesn't mean right.
For those guys to make it that far,
look at their pitching.
I take
Don Newcomb, Carl Erskine, Johnny Podgers, Billy Lowes, Carl Spooner, Roger Craig, Clem LeBlanc, Russ Meyer, Ed Roebuck. Sandy Koufax was a rookie that year.
Yeah.
Jim Hughes, Joe Black, and Tommy Lasorda. Tommy didn't last much either. He played as many games. He did two more games than Henry. He played in 4 games.
Yeah. You know, historians, Brooklyn Dodger historians, are split on Tommy Lasorda. Some of them love him, and some of them don't love him at all. Mm-hmm. And because he's very aged now, and he's a little frail, and he espouses Dodger Blue and all of this stuff. I bleed Dodger Blue, and on my tombstone, I want the Dodgers schedule to see where they're playing, et cetera, et cetera. We forget that back in the day, there was a very close chance, a very, very close chance of, in 1981, the winter of 1981, of Steinbrenner hiring Lasorda to manage the Yankees.
Really? Huh.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a fact. And the thing is this, Tommy Lasorda, for all his good points and all his bad points, I personally, just me, now he could die tomorrow, and God forbid, and everybody would say, oh, Pete Trunk said that, he said a bad thing about Tommy Lasorda, and that's why he died.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to call a spade a spade. Tommy Lasorda is a bullshitter. He's a self-promoter.
Yeah.
He's a self-promoter, and he's a bullshitter. And that's my thoughts on Tommy Lasorda.
But he was a great ambassador to baseball.
Sure he was.
And he was. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you knew how to motivate.
Hey, look, Ronnie, before we go off the air, you can say great things about Ronald Reagan.
Right.
But there were horrible things about Ronald Reagan. You can say great things about Eisenhower. There were horrible things about Eisenhower.
Exactly. Right.
You could go on and on and on. You know, when I was coming up, people would argue baseball all the time and football all the time and boxing all the time and all that stuff. But nevertheless, somewhere in my family, deep down in my family, people would argue about opera. Believe it or not. They would argue about opera, for God's sakes. And they would say, well, you know what? Maria Callas is the best.
Yeah.
Maria Callas is the greatest. And other people in my family would stand up and stridently scream out, Maria Callas? She sucked. You know, I liked Renata Tebaldi. Renata Tebaldi was the best. You know, and there would be arguments about that. And you know what? It comes down to this one thing. I never played Major League Baseball, and you never played Major League Baseball.
No.
But we're sitting on the sideline, and we're fans, and we look, and we root, and we watch, and we listen, and we read.
That's right.
And you want to know something? Tommy Lasorda deserves all kinds of credit for achieving what he achieved. He also deserves the negative stuff that he did and said throughout his career too. So it's like all of us. It's like a give and a take.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a give and a take. And you know, all Dodgers in history cannot be perfect.
Right.
And they're not. And they're not. Even though Linda Wilson, who's a great friend of the show, would like us all to believe that the Dodgers could commit no sin.
Right.
But, you know, she lured, for instance, Steve Garvey. Steve Garvey had a lot going for him.
Yes, he did.
But he had a lot going against him, too. So, you know, that's all I'm saying.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying. Nothing else. Nothing
Peter,
less,
I was
nothing
looking
more.
Here, it was kind of fun. I was looking at the salaries of the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
1955. Okay. Who was the highest paid player?
I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah.
In 1955, I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah.
Duke Snyder, 40,000.
Nope. It was Campanella.
Campanella.
42,000.
42,000. Wow.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Carl Erskine, 27,000.
Oh my God.
Carl Furillo, 28.5.
What did Jackie make?
35. So did Duke Snyder. Both of them made 35. Can you imagine?
Wow. Imagine.
Unbelievable.
What did Hodges make?
Hodges, let me see if it says here. Gil Hodges, can't be right. $8,000?
No. Can't
be right? No.
Has to be 30,000.
It has to be something like that. That's what it says. Yeah.
Has to be. When I talked I met Duke Snyder. I personally met Duke Snyder about 10 times in my life.
Yeah.
And one of the times I met him, I forget when it was, maybe the late 80s, early 90s. We were sitting and talking, and he told me that the most he ever made in any major league season in his career was $46,000.
Huh. Unbelievable. Yeah. How much do you think Sandy Koufax made that year in 55?
Well, he had to make minimum. He had to make like
$6,000. $6,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And then a few years later in L.A., when he held out with Drysdale for $125,000,
yeah,
he settled for $100,000.
Yeah. Right. That's right. I think that was.
Here's a guy who won 26 games, and he settled for $100,000.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, that first year as a rookie, and even in '56, when he'd come in from the bullpen, I would cringe because he was wild.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he couldn't get the ball over the plate.
The pitch was Sandy Koufax, and oh no, not him.
Right.
Look what happened. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that goes?
He was so wild. He was fast, but he was so wild.
He was.
Yep.
And you know, this is folklore maybe, and maybe it's true and maybe it's not true. Yeah. But Larry Sherry's brother, Norm Sherry.
Norm. I knew Norm.
Norm Sherry was a pitcher, was a catcher. Larry Sherry was a pitcher. Norm Sherry was his brother, who was a catcher on the Dodgers.
Yep.
In the very, very, very early 60s. And he said that he told Koufax when they were walking down to the bullpen one day in 1960 or 61, he said to Sandy, he said, you know something? You have such a great fastball. Why not just, instead of throwing it as hard as you can, why don't you just ease up on it a little bit and try to get it in the strike zone? Worry about getting it in the strike zone instead of how fast you can throw it. And when Sandy did that, it all turned around.
It all turned around, yeah. Norm Sherry was the one.
Norm Sherry was the one.
Larry and Norm, they were brothers, two Jewish boys.
That's right. Norm Sherry was a Jewish boy. So was Larry Sherry. And Larry Sherry, in 1959, I know a lot of people are not going to like this because it's the 1950s Brooklyn Dodgers broadcast, but I'll say it anyway. In 1959, as a Los Angeles Dodger, Larry Sherry won 2 games and saved 2 games in the 1959 World Series.
That's right. That's right.
And secured the Dodgers another World Championship.
And Norm Sherry was the funniest guy. Oh, I got to know him really well. He was a character. He could joke around. He was like a clown. He was so funny and such a good guy. Really a great guy.
How did you learn? How did you meet him?
I met him in Milwaukee. I believe it was when the Dodgers were playing the Braves.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I met all. Because we used to stay at the Schrader Hotel, where all the Dodgers stayed.
Right.
So they'd hang around the lobby, or they'd be in the restaurant, or before and after the games.
Yeah.
So we would kibitz with them all the time. It was so funny. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was great. Yeah. My dad, they had a Democratic National Convention in the Schrader Hotel in 1960, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And he was running as the Democratic National Committeeman for the state of Wisconsin. And you had to be elected by the party. So there was a campaign. There was 2 candidates. He ended up winning. But all the Dodgers were in town that day. And the Kennedys had brought in some beautiful girls to pass out leaflets and pins, I'm for Dave.
Yeah.
So the Dodgers were all wearing I'm for Dave pins. It was so funny. It was great. Yeah.
That's great.
The beautiful girls, they'd say, put on a pin, so they would do it.
That's
so funny.
A great story.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
That's a great story. You have a lot of great stories about back when you were young and how you met and befriended Jackie Robinson and became his legitimate friend for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And how you've continued to be friends with Rachel and also his daughter. Jackie's daughter. And you know what? It's a great privilege to, I don't want to get too sappy or too syrupy on the air here, but to me, it's a great privilege that I got to meet you and befriend you.
Oh, I feel the same. Believe me.
No, really. I mean it. I mean it 1,000,000%.
I know you do.
You know what? I'm just a Brooklyn Dodger fan. You actually were in the hub, if you will, of the Brooklyn Dodger family back in the early 50s, and you remained there, and it's just a privilege to do these shows with you. It really is. It's great.
Fun.
It's great to talk about people like Sal Maglie and even Norm Sherry. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not the 1950s. Right, exactly.
Pete Reeser was a coach.
There you go.
Dick Pitler was a coach. And they were characters.
There you go.
Were they characters? And they would horse around with me. It was so funny. because they knew me well. I mean, I'd always be there when they'd come to Milwaukee. It was so funny.
Right.
You know who was a jerk all the time? Was Junior Gilliam.
Really?
Junior Gilliam would never sign an autograph for a kid. He would always walk away. He'd brush them away. Never. He was a real jerk that way.
How come?
I was surprised at that, but he really was. Yeah.
Oh, I don't
He was
like
one
to hear
I
that.
really didn't like because he would always brush people away, the kids, when they were standing by the locker room waiting, when they're coming out, going back
Now,
to
let
the
me
bus.
ask you this. Before we go off the air, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When Jackie brought you and your father into the Dodger clubhouse in 1953.
He actually only brought me in, not my dad. He brought me in.
When Jackie brought you into the Dodger clubhouse in 1953 and introduced you to all of the Dodgers and had the ball signed, did Junior Gilliam sign it?
I have to look and see, but I think he did.
Okay.
I think, and it was actually 1955. It was the year of my 10th birthday. And then we went and came to my birthday party that year. So that was really something unbelievable.
Wow.
But they were all there. They were all patting my back, shaking my hand. I was like, numb. It was like, geez.
Phenomenal stuff. The photographs never get old. All of those photographs of Jackie with his arm around you and
all the pictures you posted, they're beautiful.
You know what? I can't look at those pictures without a ridiculously huge grin forming on my face when I see that.
It's a nostalgic look, yeah.
It is. Right. Not only that, but I know you.
Yeah, right.
So that makes it even better. I mean, if I saw this and it was Joe Blow, I would say, wow, that's really cool. But I know you.
I know.
I know you. You're my friend. And I see this.
You are my buddy.
And then when I see this stuff, I go, oh, my God. This is so cool.
It is.
Like when I see you with Larry King, or I see, when I see these things, I just say to myself, I know Ron Rabinovitz. He's my buddy. He's my friend.
That's right.
This is so great.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. It really is. You don't have to thank me. It really is great. It really is great. And
to have you as a partner is the best.
Before we leave, thank you. Before we leave the airwaves, I want to thank you for being my partner here on this show. When Bums and Jints walk the streets of New York, I look forward to the next show that we do next week.
Yeah.
And,
we always have fun.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I always learn something, which is important to me.
That's right.
And
I learned a lot about Sal Maglie that I knew and I didn't know. So
there you go.
It's interesting.
Perfect.
Yep, absolutely. All right, my friend.
All right, my friend. I'll talk to you on the internet, and thank you for. Okay, thank you very much, and good night to you. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.